I'm Tessa Smith with Mama's Geeky. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, this film was so cute and so good and like super entertaining from beginning to end. I really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, so I'd love to know, what was it about Darby and the Dead that made you be like, yeah, I want to direct this. I want to be a part of this movie.
I love comedies about death, if I may be so morbid. I think yeah, it's hard to deal with loss and comedy, when we laugh, we connect. So that was a big draw. Some of the absurdity of it, the supernatural aspect, and then that it's about a friendship. I really love stories that have that simple engine.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about it is the friendship and like the history there. It felt like it made sense that like, oh, they were friends, then this happened, then they didn't like each other, get along so much, and now they're friends again. Like, I loved that story. So you can just talk about like making that come through in the film.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for saying that, because it was an exercise in limitations, because we don't go into the backstory very much, and a lot of it is in these moments where very little is spoken. So yeah, it was we made a friendship map, Ali and Riel and I, because of shooting out of order and making sure we weren't repeating beats. And ultimately everything was about this fractured friendship and how they come back together. And that when Darby lost her mom, that Capri felt like she lost her mom too, and her friend. They were young, and so maybe the adults didn't help them navigate it. But I love that this tension is ultimately about feeling hurt and then healing that. Yeah, is a really sweet thing, and to realize, yeah, that backstory.
Yeah, and the two of them are so great, but like the entire cast is so great. Can you talk about bringing everyone together and like throwing Tony Danza in the mix? Like, what is happening? It was so good.
What is happening? It was amazing. I feel like I keep saying this, but I feel like the cast found me as much as I found them. They're so perfect. And the bond was instant. And we started, like, Chosen started sending me ideas for hair and wardrobe, and the costume designer and hair were so into it. And people were bringing playlists. Ali made me a playlist, and I just love that. Like, as soon as we cast, we got to having conversations about building the backstory and really going in deep, as deep as we could, because every moment, even with the Mean Girls, I'm like, well, why is Taylor being a jerk here? And she's like, oh, because Darby just got a bunch of attention at the football game, and like really just whether the audience sees that or not, that the actors were willing to go into the weeds of everything just made it so rich, and I think a strong ensemble.
I love it. Yeah. So he gave you suggestions. Did he like help pick out the donut costume? That was like my favorite thing, was that donut.
Oh yeah, no, he didn't pick the donut, but it was it was almost a can of cheese at one point, but luckily the donut stayed. But Chosen, really, he had the idea for his hair being dyed kind of platinum, as a kind of ghostly reference for himself.
Yes.
He just had great fashion, because I was like, the nerds in the movie, Darby and Alex, are the cool kids, and they should look as that way, and they should sort of have that freedom, and so yeah, he was really, and Asher wrote a song for the movie that plays in the movie and plays as the second end titles. That's phenomenal. And so he picked the song. We had a song that he sings, he picked a different song, and it was so perfect. So everybody like brought personal things to it, which was great. It was really, and we collaborated so much on the makeover with Riel and Ali, and what does that look like, and what are the goals here. So yeah, it was an embarrassment of riches that way.
I love that scene. That gave me like such Clueless vibes. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm watching Clueless again. It's amazing. Is that one of the films that like kind of took inspiration, I would imagine?
Yeah, absolutely. And Ali was boasting about how she brought a nod to Clueless with the pen with the puffy pom end, and then she passed it off to Riel when Darby starts taking over her role. And it was definitely a reference in the fashion and the sort of the icon. Like, who doesn't love an iconic role, an iconic movie to be the base?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I love it. So Tony Danza, can you just like talk about working with him? Is he just amazing? Because he seems like he's just amazing.
He's amazing. I just had dinner with him in New York, which was really fun. He has a show where he sings and tells stories, and So I went to Manny's Bistro with Tony Danza. It was the best.
So cool.
I'm totally bragging. He and Wayne and Derek Luke, they all brought so much to the role, considering, it was limited amount of, pages and dialogue. And Tony, he was so kind to all the crew who were excited to meet him. He brought a ukulele and serenaded. And he really made friends with Riel, and he really thought about like every little thing and having a nickname for Darby, and just having that such a strong commitment to everything. It was just, I saw him bond with her kind of like a, because his role is a bit of a fatherly and friend role in the movie. So yeah.
Oh, I love it. So I feel like there's so much to learn from this, like besides just the actual enjoyment of enjoying this movie because it's so fun, but like there's a lot of good lessons of grief and friendship. And can you talk about, I guess, what you hope the overall message people take away is?
Yeah, I think there's a few, but I feel like one of them is this idea that we know who other people are, and we point to these cliques and we're like, they're X, Y, and Z. And Darby kind of has that epiphany of like, I'm judging because I'm insecure. And that often if we close that gap and we talk to the people that we think are judging us, something different happens. And so I think it was fun to play with that concept. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm serious. Thank you so much to all my monetary supporters, my members, and my Patreons. Love you guys.